Well, today we're cooking up a storm. We're going to make a pumpkin risotto live on YouTube with you guys. Thanks to Tesco's Community Grants.
Thank you.
So if we take a look down at the board, we can see what we've got. We've obviously got our seasonal pumpkin. Now, if you haven't got a pumpkin, you can use butternut squash. You can use any of those other little gaudy squashes. Anything like that works.
Okay.
We've got some risotto rice, some parmesan, some garlic, onion, bit of butter. You can use marge if you want to, and some coriander. We're going to infuse some cumin in there. Give it that sort of curry note.
Lovely.
How does that sound?
Sounds amazing. And obviously, you're starting with a pumpkin. We're doing pumpkins today because we all know what time of year it is.
Indeed.
And pumpkins, they are like the most wasted food at this time
of year. These are going in the bin left, right and centre.
It's genuinely a horror story.
It is.
What is going on with pumpkins. So any recipes, this is a fantastic one. Any recipes that really give us some ideas of what we could do with all those pumpkins.
It's spot on.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, let's crack on.
Okay.
We're going to prep our pumpkin first. So first things first, folks, you need your oven to be set to about 180, 200, because we're going to oven roast this pumpkin, all right?
Lovely.
Now, we're not going to need all of this for our risotto.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use what I need for the risotto, and then keep an eye on all of our socials. Keep an eye on Facebook, keep an eye on Instagram, keep an eye on X on Halloween, because you'll see what I'm going to do with the other half.
Okay.
All right. But I'm not going to tell you much more.
Before you put the knife in there, you know, well, the fact is that we all spend a lot of time and energy over about a 24-hour period where we want to carve and cut and make fabulous and amazing. And wow, you can do some incredible things. But it really does allow us to forget that this is food. It is highly nutritious.
It is.
It's incredibly cheap.
Yep.
For the quantity of food and nutrition that it gets, that it gives you. So I think it's amazing that we're going to be doing that on Halloween to show people.
When you've carved your half a pumpkin,
which
is the half I'm using in today's recipe,
with the face on,
is the carved bit, really.
Yeah.
The other half, what you're going to do. Yeah. Remember, don't put a tea light in it, don't put a candle in it. Put one of those electric LED tea lights or a little light of any description in there. You're not going to harm the inside. Keep your pumpkin on a windowsill inside, not outside, so no little critters from outside get into it, and then you can use the other half for what we're doing on Halloween.
Yeah,
right.
Fantastic.
Let's get this going. So, big knife. I'm going to cut in straight down and through one side, and then I'm going to turn it around just to finish off the other side. Amazing. So, this is what we're using today. This little beauty is for Halloween.
Okay.
So keep an eye on our socials for that on Halloween.
Fantastic.
So first things first, there's quite a lot of seeds in there.
Yes.
So we're just going to use a spoon. Now the seeds, you don't have to get rid of the seeds. You can dry them out. You can plant them next year. If you've got the patience, you can take the husks off and then just fry the actual seed that's inside. Lovely crunch, bit nutty, but beautiful. And
also they've got a lot of nutrition in those seeds.
The seeds have,
It is worth, I've tried it before where you spread out the fibrous surround that Simon is just currently dragging out the inside of that pumpkin, lay it out on a piece of kitchen paper or even a clean tea towel, and that allows you to just sort of spread out the fiber, remove the seeds, and then you can roast them just as they are.
Definitely.
Like that in the oven. Ooh, excuse me, there's
one.
They are a bit slimy.
They're a bit slippery, these. slippery little characters, these pumpkin seeds. But basically, you just want to make sure, don't worry about the fibre so much, but you just want to get all the seeds out. Once we've got those seeds out, all over there, as Siam was saying, we can dry those out, we can roast them. If you want to take the time, I'm going to try not to throw it. If you want to take the time to take the husk off the outside so you just get the seed in the middle, you can.
Right.
If not, kitchen roll in an airtight container, plant them next year. Perfect.
Fantastic.
Pumpkin. So what we're going to do, we're just going to dice the pumpkin up. We're going to leave the skin on. Now that's important because as a nation, we don't get enough fibre in our diet. And what's contained in that skin is a load of fibre.
Yeah.
So on average, the average person in the UK is probably only getting 50, 60% of the fibre maximum that they need each day. Okay. So simply by leaving that skin on, we're going to raise that fibre content, which is good for our health, good for everything.
Absolutely.
All right? But we're just going to dice it up. We don't want it in massive pieces because we want it to roast quite quickly. And we want it so that when it goes in our risotto, we're not looking at it going, my God, that's a huge, great chunk of pumpkin. So all I'm going to do, I've sliced it gently, and I'm just going to cut through, just so we make bits probably about half the size of our thumb.
Okay.
All right, because they'll roast off nicely. We're going to do that with all of this pumpkin, with this half of the pumpkin, because don't forget, when it goes in the oven, they will shrink a little bit, so they won't be quite as huge. And just take your time, work your way through. Try and keep them roughly the same size so they all cook at the same time, Simon. Doing my best. And then what we're going to do, we'll sprinkle these out, spread them out onto a baking tray with a bit of baking paper on it, or baking parchment, or if you've got one of those little silicone mat things, those on it. And we're going to drizzle it with some olive oil, pop it in the oven, and then we're going to make our risotto.
So I think that one of the reasons that people do tend to avoid cooking pumpkin is that it seems like quite a big palaver in preparation. I've certainly come across lots of people who say that, you know, the peeling process can be really quite hard work. You know, you break about 3 fingernails, you take off the skin of your knuckles. I think that people are quite reluctant, but actually watching you do it there, breaking it down into small pieces, keeping the skin on actually is a really big...
And I think it's something as well, you know, we said at the start you could do this with a butternut squash, you could do it with any sort of gaudy pumpkin or squash.
And people are reluctant with those as well, aren't they? Because it feels like a massive prep job, but as you say, and that really taps into one of UK Harvest's big slogans when we're talking about reducing food waste and cutting down on the amount of food waste we're putting in our general waste bin, is ditch the peeler. And this is a perfect example of an opportunity where you don't have to take the skin off.
If you can eat it, why ditch it?
Yeah.
You know, make sure it's clean, give it a wash first, you're absolutely fine.
Totally. And that fibre that's contained in the skin, really good for you. And also the extra nutrients that are held between the skin. It's the same with carrots, it's the same with potatoes. Many vegetables, well, probably almost all of them, I would imagine, the skin is a container and the nutrients really sit just
that membrane just inside the skin is going to be exactly where loads of the nutrients, loads of the vital vitamins, minerals, that's their barrier. They can't get out, so the skin's holding them in. So as soon as we peel it, the skin off, we're losing all those vital nutrients. Why do we want to do that? I don't know.
No.
Probably just because we've all been brought up, oh, you've got to peel it, you've got to peel it.
Yeah.
Give it a good wash. Now, the last little bit, go really careful because it's a bit wibbly and a bit rocky. So we just get the knife in and we'll just go through gently. So if anybody is cooking with us, just go very gently when you get to the last bit. And then, if you don't mind, Sam, behind me, I believe, is a baking tray.
Would you like that on your left-hand side?
I would love that on my left-hand side.
Oh, there we go.
And I think it's another thing that people... misconceptions with squashes, with pumpkins, with anything like that. When you're saying, you know, it takes a lot of time to prep it, it's actually quite simple to prep it. It's actually really simple to cook it.
Absolutely.
So all I'm going to do with these, I'm just going to lay these out onto my baking paper, which is on the tray.
And I'm thinking while you're doing that, Simon, that this is a good moment if you had more pumpkin than you could possibly want to put in one recipe. And let's face it, at the moment in supermarkets, you can buy huge pumpkins for just a few quids, a few pounds.
Not even that.
Not even that.
I was in a supermarket the other day. They had a pumpkin about that big.
Yes.
It was £1.90.
Yeah. Now, if you were to clean and prep like this, that pumpkin, and freeze that chunks
straight in a
of
bag,
pumpkin,
straight in the freezer.
Absolutely. You then have a supply of pumpkin throughout the year. It's hugely nutritious, really cheap, very, very good for you.
And
you can store it.
What it does, if you're going to put pumpkin or butternut squash or anything like that into a dish, it bulks your dish out.
Yeah.
So if you were going to make a chili,
yes,
there's no reason you can't use some pumpkin just to bulk it out, or some butternut squash. If you're making a curry, it bulks it out nicely.
Absolutely.
What it also does in those sorts of wet dishes, it absorbs so much of the flavour. So my pumpkin's on my tray.
Right.
Little drizzle of olive oil. Now at this stage, if you've got any herbs or spices or anything else that you want to put on, you're more than welcome to. So this risotto's got cumin going into the risotto rice to give it some flavour.
Nice.
So we've got a little bit of curry notes going on. So if I wanted to, I could sprinkle a little bit of curry powder over the top, just so that it enhances the flavour.
And again, if you haven't got olive oil, at the moment is very expensive. You can use any oil, even a knob of butter or margarine or other fat, just something. I'm
just going to have a quick look because I know that somewhere I've got some curry powder, and I'm just going to sprinkle just on ours because we've got it here. You don't have to at home. But just sprinkle.
Any spices at all. You could use fresh herbs.
You could.
Or could you use dried mixed herbs?
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, you can use anything. I mean, this risotto, obviously, as I say, it's got a cumin note, which means it's got more of a curry note.
Okay.
Which is why I'm going just lightly with a bit of curry
but
powder.
If you wanted that Mediterranean thing.
Definitely mixed herbs, salt,
oregano.
pepper, anything like that. Yeah.
Lovely.
And then, as I say, 180 to 200 on your oven. They're going to go in whilst we make the risotto.
Okay.
Now, the risotto, everybody goes, oh my God, it's just a faff. It is, but it isn't.
Okay.
And whilst this is cooking, that gives us
time.
perfect time to make that risotto. When the risotto is ready, this will be ready.
Perfect.
We can eat.
Do
So
you
I'll
like to
stick
put that in?
Go on then. You can stick that one in.
No worries.
That's lovely. I'm just going to move this board out of the way because we don't need that one anymore. And let's bring back in everything we need to do our risotto. So, our risotto. We've got our risotto rice. Now, I know on the recipe it said 200 grams of risotto rice. Okay. If you really are going to cook this as a main for 4 people, you might want to increase that. I've actually increased it to about 350, 400 grams.
Okay.
Because I know there are lots of people here today that are going to be very hungry when we finish.
Thank you, Simon.
So look at that. Think about who you're feeding. If you're serving the risotto as an accompaniment to something else, chicken breast, for example, anything like that, just keep it down at the 200.
Okay.
All right.
Brilliant.
So we've got Parmesan. Any cheese will do. All that's going to do, that's going to go in right at the end. Goo it all up. Make it that nice, gooey, creamy risotto. Any cheese works.
Okay.
Obviously, if you're going with a cheese which hasn't got that sort of salty taste, which we know the Parmesan has, then just add just a sprinkle of salt into it, because the taste of the Parmesan is just going to bring a bit of flavour, a bit of salt, and all of that to it.
Lovely.
We've got some fresh coriander, keeping with our curried notes.
Lovely. Okay.
We've got garlic. We've got stock cubes, because in a minute I'm going to ask Sam to make me some stock. I could only find a really small onion this morning, but I did also find a shallot, so that's fine. Anything, onions, spring onions if you want, really doesn't matter. And I'm going to use a knob of butter as well, because it's obviously not a vegan dish because I've got cheese in it. So
let's just give a nod to UK Harvest principles of using, you know, as much as we can.
Yellow stickers.
Food that might end up in waste. And yeah, absolutely. And also the courage to swap in and out wherever possible. Totally. So if we didn't have orzo rice, can we use a normal rice?
If you didn't have risotto rice, you could use whatever rice you want.
You can.
Just make sure it's cooked.
Yeah.
The process would be exactly the same.
Yep.
If you want to use orzo pasta, you can do. So if you don't want rice, you want a pasta alternative, then orzo is a little grain of pasta. We did some other videos last week for another project where we were using orzo to make orzotto, not risotto.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah,
that's a swap in and out.
It's whatever you've got.
Absolutely.
You know, basmati rice works, long grain rice works. Obviously, if you're using a brown rice, it does take longer to actually cook it through and for the rice to absorb, but it all works the same.
So it's just about adjusting the time and the liquid to cook through whichever.
And just keep an eye on it. You're going to be constantly keeping an eye on your risotto anyway.
Right.
So keep that eye on your risotto.
Okay.
Work it out as you go along. And hopefully today you'll see what ours does, what it looks like, and then if you're using a different style of rice or if you're using that orzo pasta, you can easily mix it in. And if anybody thinks orzo is more expensive, it really isn't. It's actually kilo for kilo is cheaper than rice. So
brilliant.
Keep an eye out for that. Right, let's get prepping. I'm going to get my onions and my garlic done. Sian, if you could make me up about a litre of stock with that would be perfect.
Thank you.
There should be a jug just there. So my onion, I'm just going to dice. So I'm going to take the outer skin off, including the yellow sticker. 7p, reduced, 7p. Eat well, spend less. Get rid of sticker stigma. Stickers are all good. We love a sticker. And as we said a minute ago, don't be afraid to swap in and out. So if you do go to the reduced section and there are spring onions or there are shallots, feel free to use those. Okay? It's really not going to be an issue. Our boiling tap is probably noisy around Sian's mic.
Won't be a moment.
But we're just going to dice the onion up. So we've skinned it. We're just going to go across, cut in half, go across the belly. There should be a fork around as well, Sian, if you need to just give that a minute.
I got one there.
Move the butter out of the way. So just give this a dice up. So the reason we're using the onion and the garlic. That's obviously going to bring some flavour to our risotto.
Lovely.
The stock is also going to bring some flavour to it. We're just using a vegetable stock.
So let's just talk about stock there for a moment. Could you use any stock?
You could just keep an eye on what colour it is.
Okay.
Obviously, if you're using a thick, beefy stock,
Going to take it brown.
it's going to take your risotto browner. A vegetable stock is going to keep your risotto lighter. Veg stock to me, or chicken stock. I mean, veg stock is the one. If you're only going to put one stock cube in your house, if you take a veg stock cube in,
it can go in anything.
It can go in anything. Once you take a beef stock cube in or a chicken stock cube in, you know, it's got those meaty flavors or poultry flavors. Do you want it? Don't you want it? You know, utility stock is veg stock.
And again, if you really didn't have access to stock and you were using hot water and you wanted to just season more heavily with other flavorings, if you did have dried herbs, I can see them floating about in the stock here.
No
Obviously,
worries.
you can, you know, make up flavor in other ways if necessary.
If you haven't got a veg stock cube, no worries. Like Sian says, just a teaspoon, cut the teaspoons of mixed herbs, boiling water, good as gold. You're away, you know. Right, my shallot, I'm just actually going to slice because I want to keep a little bit of different texture, different colour.
Okay, nice.
As long as it cooks, it's all good. And believe you me, it will definitely cook. It's a risotto.
Lovely.
If you want to add any veg to this, okay, so we've obviously got our pumpkin that's in the oven. But if you don't want to make pumpkin risotto, because you want to make this recipe, but it's February, and you haven't got access to a pumpkin quite as easily.
Fair enough.
Like we said, butternut squash, yes, but there's no reason you can't use mushrooms in it. You can't use peas in it. You could even use bag of mixed frozen veg. Bearing in mind, we're going to put stock in, so it is going to get wet.
So again, actually, as one of our all-time slogans, we love a fridge raider.
Yep.
As a recipe that you might be able to incorporate all kinds of random things.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, a risotto is a really good way, actually, of
check out that bottom drawer in your fridge.
Yeah.
Everybody's always, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how conscious you are on what you buy in food waste. There's always something. Just lurking in the fridge.
And this is a really good recipe.
It's a great way to get rid of some of that.
Those bits and bobs.
So I'm going to use a couple of cloves of garlic as well. Split them apart. Just get those. Take the bottom off. Not all the way through. Roll it away. Take the top off. Again, not all the way through. Roll it all away. And then gently with the knife facing away, just rub that skin and pick that skin up. All right. Show you on the other one as well. So we're just going to take off the base, not all the way through, and roll it away. Then we're going to take off the top and roll that away. Get all of that out of the way. And then with the knife facing away, we're just going to rub at the skin until we can pick the skin up with the knife, between the knife and our thumb, just to roll around and peel that skin away. Okay, so that's our garlic. Skinned, cloves ready to go. All we're going to do with that, knife on the top, heel of the hand, crunch it down, gives you a bit of squished garlic, and then point of the knife in the board, and we'll just go rock through, keeping our fingers well out of the way, bring it all back together, knock it off the knife, gently away from the blade, point in, and then just rock through so that we do get that fine chopped garlic. Now, I normally make a joke at this time. Nobody wants a big load of garlic unless it's Halloween. Well, it nearly is.
It really
so
is.
If you do want that garlic to keep the vampires away, you feel free to add a few extra cloves and leave it all huge and everything like that.
Sounds good. And if you didn't have fresh garlic, just for the record,
garlic powder, garlic granules.
You can buy it ready prepared. Sometimes, again, I've seen it in the reduced section.
Yep.
Frozen and you know, pulped kind of garlic, all sorts.
You know, you can get the garlic purees. You can get the chopped garlic in jars. It lasts for ages in your fridge. Just keep an eye on how much you're putting in. You're probably only going to need a teaspoon per clove if it's all chopped up. But there's lots of other options that you can use to make your garlic and get that garlic flavour. Again, if you're suffering with any sort of digestional problems, let's leave it at that. If you don't want fresh onion and garlic, asafoetida, it's an orange powder. You buy it in the herb and spice section. It's a root basically, that is ground, but gives flavour of onion and garlic.
Okay.
Doesn't have the same effects if you suffer from IBS and things like that as onion and garlic does. So just keep your eyes open. There's plenty of different things you can flavour it with.
Lovely.
I'm going to get this on. So we're going to get a wok.
Lovely. Okay.
Over a medium heat. So what's a medium heat? A medium heat for me, this goes up to 9, is about 7.
Okay.
If you've got a gas hob, or an electric hob, just go in the middle line. Okay. So we're going to go up, go to 7. Go to 7. Thank you. You have a drizzle of oil. Okay. Any oil, doesn't matter. Drizzle of oil. We're just going to get that warm. Then what we're going to do, we're going to go in with our onion and our shallot. We're going to bring that together. We're going to let that soften. Not cook. We don't want it to go golden. We don't want it to go brown. We just want it to soften. Release the flavours into the oil and go soft. Then we can add our garlic. Then we're going to bring that through. Once that's aromatic, we're going to add a knob of butter. We're going to add our cumin. We're going to bring all that together and then go straight in with our rice and coat the rice with all of it.
Okay.
Then it's stock time.
All righty.
Okay, so back of your hand, well above your pan, you'll feel the heat coming through. If the oil runs around the base of your pan, you're ready to go.
Okay.
Now this shouldn't hiss and spit at me. It should just start to sizzle a little bit in the background.
Lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it doesn't immediately, don't panic. It will do in a minute. You don't need to turn your hob up. And then I have my funky little spider's web spatula. I'm getting right into this Halloween this year.
Spooky.
And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to coat all of that onion and shallot in that oil. So it all starts to break down. It's covered, so it's all going to cook at the same sort of time. And a spatula is great for this section because you can really bring everything back down off the edge of your pan. If you haven't got a wok, a big frying pan works just as well. Slightly more difficult in a saucepan, but you can do it. Basically, if it'll go on the hob, you can use it. It's just how difficult you want to make it off, right?
Absolutely.
So this is just going to soften. This is going to take 2 or 3 minutes. Now, pumpkin is brilliant, not only for the fibre, not only for the look, not only for what you can design on it, but it actually lasts quite a long time.
Yes.
So when earlier I said, you know, when you cut your design into it, don't use a candle, use one of those little electronic tea lights or whatever. Pick them up really cheap in the pound shop, especially at the moment.
True.
Take a look in the Halloween aisle of your pound shop. There'll be loads of them. Keep it inside. You've scraped out all those seeds and the moisture.
Yeah.
If it's only going up there for 2-3 days, you're going to be able to eat it afterwards.
Yeah.
Just remember, though, don't put it outside and don't put a candle in it. And because it's a food source, guys, we're big on not wasting our food, especially at UK Harvest. We want to have fun with the family. We want to have that time to carve the pumpkin.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, let's eat it afterwards.
And actually, I can remember some time ago when my children were little, we would put our pumpkin out just for those couple of hours in the evening when people were out and about,
so
wandering
that people
and
knew
looking.
where they could go.
And actually, we would sit it on a tray or a plate, so it wasn't directly on the floor. And then, for me, as soon as the kids had gone to bed, I would nip out and bring the pumpkin back in and put it on the windowsill. Even put it in the fridge, so that it's actually preserving. The whole of the pumpkin outdoors moment is so brief that actually it isn't impossible to manage it like that. And then you've got a fresh, ready-to-use carved pumpkin that you can turn into all manner
curries, chilies,
brilliant pies, sweet
bolognese,
and savoury. Oh my goodness, so many nice things.
Going in with my garlic because my onion is softened. So in goes my garlic.
Lovely.
Now, I said earlier, I'm just going to cook this until it's fragrant, okay? So all I want to do is just heat the garlic up until I can smell it.
Okay.
Now, the reason for that means the oils are coming out of the garlic, the flavour's coming out of the garlic. That's infusing with the onion and the oil, and that's when we go, all right, don't want to burn it. Let's go with the next ingredient.
Lovely, looking great.
Okay. So that's good. I can smell my garlic. So now I'm going to go in just a knob of butter.
Is this just to enrich the flavour?
Yeah, it's just going to basically add another fat to the pan, so nothing should stick.
Okay.
It's going to deglaze all the flavours off the bottom, bring that oil in with the butter.
Okay.
Stop that oil burning, but it's also going to give me a beautiful, in a minute, coating for my rice.
Okay.
Because what I want to be able to do, when that's melted down, I'm going to go in with my cumin as well. So we start to cook the flavour through. But then that will then coat my rice. That will help get all the flavours into it. So there is method in my madness.
If you didn't have butter, you could
Any
use
marge.
a knob of marge, absolutely. Or if you only had your oil or your vegetable oil, another dash at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to keep it moist.
Yeah.
And
basically what it's doing, it's bringing the temperature of the oil in the pan down so it's not going to burn.
Okay.
Obviously, if you want to make this dish vegan, that is absolutely no problem. There are plant-based butters on the market.
Of course.
Or marge, it does the same job.
Lovely.
But then obviously get a vegan cheese, but vegan cheddar. When we did the risottos last week, that was what we used because they were all vegan. So we used that vegan cheddar cheese at the end. Works just beautifully.
And again, it's really just about including those options that can be just as nutritious, reducing the amount of meat or other products that we're using, switching out things. You can find plant-based, absolutely, a little bit here and there will make a big difference.
So we've now got our onion and garlic buttery goo.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. It's a buttery goo.
Yeah, it's
all right.
That's sounding spooky, even as you say.
There we go. Everyone's a winner. Right.
Brilliant.
I'm going to go in, a couple of teaspoons, tablespoon, whichever one you want, of cumin. We're just going to sprinkle that in. Now, dried herbs, they all need cooking. All right. So that's why I've gone in now, because there's plenty of fluid in there that they're not going to burn. If you're going to use mixed herbs and you're just going to put mixed herbs straight in on top of your onion and your garlic, little tip, just put a little drizzle of water in the pot with your mixed herbs, mix it together first, put them in, your mixed herbs won't burn.
Okay,
all right.
Sounds good.
Thank you to a very well-known TV chef for that little tip.
All righty.
Okay, so we've got our goo with our onions, our garlic, our cumin. Now we go in with our rice, okay? Now we've got risotto rice, our Boreo rice, but you can use any rice you want.
Lovely.
All right, so that goes in. We're going to give that a good covering with all that flavour. All right, all that flavour from the cumin, the onion, the garlic, the goo. Make sure that all of your rice gets covered. Like that. That's going to seal a load of flavour around every grain of rice.
Lovely.
And now slowly we're going to add our stock.
Okay.
So how much do I end up with? About a litre?
Yes.
Beautiful.
If anything, I've gone slightly under. So if you need a little top up, we can do that.
We can easily do that.
Absolutely.
So risotto's low and slow. Okay. So our rice is in there. We're not going in with all our stock.
No.
We're going to go in with part of our stock, probably a third of our stock.
Okay.
To start off with, we're going to mix that together. And it's looking really, really wet.
And it's starting to look risotto-y.
All right. It's looking really, really wet. But what's going to happen is as that stock heats up, going to turn the temperature up in a minute, but all of that rice is going to start to absorb that flavour. Now, when we have no fluid left, that's time to add more fluid.
Okay.
And then when there's no fluid left, that's time to add more fluid.
Okay.
And we're going to cook it through until that rice is soft. It's blown up. It's all pillowy. It's beautifully soft. Then we're going to know it's done.
Okay.
That's going to probably take us 20 minutes.
Fine.
I thought.
Nice.
Our roasted pumpkin.
Should we have a look
We're going to
at
have a little look in a second. I'm just going to get this hot. How's it looking?
It looks great. I'll make a space and I can pop it down on there for you.
Okay, that's cool. We'll just have a little look at our pumpkin. So as you can see, this is starting to goo. Colours there, few bubbles. Let that go. Let's have a look at that pumpkin. Okay, so our pumpkin's looking good. Two things with what we did earlier. Obviously, we dusted ours with some curry powder. So that's giving us an extra colour. And keeping the skins on. Can you see it's starting to go darker?
Yeah.
Now, as the skin goes darker, it'll start to blister. That'll give us sort of black gnarly bits, but full of flavour, full of fibre, extra flavour and extra texture to the dish. This is why we want to show you as we go through. I'm going to give those a quick flick with a spoon. I'll just borrow a cloth towel onto it. Thank you. Just give it a quick flick over. So all the flavours come through. We're not getting all black on one side and nothing on the other.
You can really see they're already really softening, cooking really quite quickly. Again, I think it's a misconception that it takes hours and hours to cook. Squash, pumpkins, they all actually got a lot of liquid in them, and they cook really quickly.
So that looks, and if I'll give you the cloth back.
Yeah, I can put that back
in. Go back in.
Lovely.
If you wanted to, you could drizzle with a bit more oil at this stage. I'm quite happy for that to go back in. And we're coming back down to our risotto. Coming back down to the risotto, I've just been asked by the guys behind the camera to turn the extract up a little bit because there's too much
steam
on the cameras. So as you can see, our first bit of fluid, this was swimming a minute ago.
Yeah, it's already really absorbing.
Really quickly, it started to absorb. And that's absorbed not only our veg stock, but that cumin, that onion, that garlic, the creamy nature from the added butter that we put in. But again, plant-based works the same.
Lovely.
If you do want to make it even creamier, if you want to put a cream cheese in, you can put cream cheese in. That stretches. It just makes it gooey.
And you do that later when we're adding cheese or
you can
through the process?
Or you can do it as you go.
Okay.
So where we're going to do our stock in three motions, you do stock, cream cheese, stock, cream cheese.
Okay.
Just goose it all together even more. But that's really good. That's coming together beautifully. So we're going to bring all of that back into the middle of the pan and add a bit more fluid.
And I have to say, I think that when you hear there's risotto on the menu, or I'm making risotto tonight, you tend to think this is really quite a chefy dish, but it's actually very simple. It's very basic.
It's so not chefy, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, but it is.
All it takes is patience.
Yeah.
Don't rush it. Don't tip all your fluid in at the start, because what will happen is your rice will absorb really quick, but won't absorb flavour.
Right.
It just absorbs the fluid.
Okay.
You want it to be a slow process, so it takes that flavour, takes that flavour, takes that flavour.
Right.
Makes your rice more pillowy. Makes the flavour of your dish better. So whilst that's cooking down for the second time, I'm just going to grate up some Parmesan, and I'm going to make a few little funky bits to go on the top as well.
Lovely.
So Parmesan, 50 grams to 100 grams, depending on your palate. Parmesan tends to last for quite a while.
Yeah.
But it does go green after a while.
Okay.
So if you've got Parmesan, and it's not a cheap ingredient, we know that. So if you have got Parmesan and you want to keep it, just grate the whole lot, freeze it.
In a bag.
In the freezer.
Wow, that's a great tip.
Rather than going...
Use it straight from the freezer. It doesn't have to be frost.
Then you can just sprinkle it straight in, it'll melt down. But 50 grams of this is probably about there.
Okay.
I've got half of the packet left then. What am I going to do with it? I'll grate it and put it in the freezer.
Right.
Or I might use it on something different on Halloween.
Okey-dokey.
But you're going to have to keep an eye on the socials for that.
Okay. Cool.
So all our socials are at UK Harvest. Whether it be X, whether it be Instagram, whether it be Facebook. And now I'm going to show my age. I don't know if there are any more, but if there are, it's at UK Harvest. So I'm grating my cheese up. I've got some fresh coriander that I'm going to put into this as well to keep that curry note going.
Lovely.
Give that a stir in a sec so it doesn't stick. So that's my cheese, which is going to go in. You can already see the rice is starting to go pillowy. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's absorbing all that flavour. Hopefully, if you are cooking along at home, or if you're going to do this later, you'll know the smells in the kitchen are, at this moment, pretty good.
And I would normally have anticipated doing that curry spiced flavour with a risotto, but it absolutely works.
And it just works so well with pumpkin.
Yeah,
with pumpkin, with squash, curried notes work so nicely.
Very nice.
So just put that to one side again. Now what I'm going to do with a little bit of this, I'm just going to use a peeler. I know we said ditch the peeler. Yeah. I'm using it as a kitchen aid, not a peeler.
Not to remove something.
Just going to get myself a couple of little ribbons.
Nice.
Just to go on the top at the end.
Lovely.
All right. So risotto's coming on well. Cheese is ready to go. Topping's ready to go. All I've got to do is chop up my coriander in a minute. I'll do that after I put in my last bit of stock.
Lovely.
So we said earlier, and Sian was talking about it really, really well. Pumpkin, there's loads of them available at this time of year. You can make lots with pumpkin. We've obviously kept it savoury. The good old pumpkin pies, all that sort of stuff. To make the puree is so simple. You can get recipes all over online.
Absolutely.
If you've got access to online because you're watching this, just Google up a couple of or other search engine up.
Absolutely.
Pumpkin puree recipe. It'll teach you exactly what you've got to do. So simple. Basically, cook it, puree it. That's it.
Indeed.
Then you can make your pumpkin pie. You can make pumpkin muffins. Work it with cinnamon to make it lovely and sort of autumnal.
I know that in our test kitchen here at UK Harvest, we've been developing quite a few pumpkin recipes. Yesterday there was pumpkin soda bread being made in the kitchen. Yeah, again, really simple, basic recipe using just grated raw pumpkin. So yeah, and skin on, going straight in a bread mix, a non-yeast bread. This one was a soda bread. It rose beautifully, lovely golden, lovely crust on it, and that pumpkin just running all the way through because you've grated it from raw.
And I know that you
really good ideas.
You did a slow cooker session with some of the community food hub guys that we work with.
That's true.
And you cooked a pumpkin cake, basically, didn't you? Like a carrot cake, but used pumpkin instead.
Yeah, we have a UK Harvest really versatile recipe. It's available through our website, and it's a carrot cake slow cooker recipe. But that carrot element can be swapped out for pumpkin, certainly, but other vegetables work just as well. We've done courgette and parsnip. We have made it with banana, but a pumpkin cake, again, just grating skin on that raw pumpkin straight into the mix. Fantastic recipe, cooked in a slow cooker because it's incredibly cheap.
Yep.
Cheap
so
to put
efficient.
The ingredients together, very efficient to run the slow cooker and cook the cake.
And the best bit, slow cookers, when you get home, it smells gorgeous.
It does. That pumpkin slow cooker cake is a winner.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to chop up some coriander to go in here as well.
Lovely. So you put the last lot in.
Yeah, the last of the stock is in there. That's just going to bubble down. I'm going to keep stirring that.
Do you want me to have another look?
The pumpkin's looking good in the oven.
Yeah, looking great in here.
So I'm just going to take some coriander, fresh coriander. Again, this was reduced to 29 pence. And I'm just going to rough chop it, stalk and all, don't care. Why am I wasting it? Why am I going to the faff?
Yeah,
the stalks,
it. It's got all
the stalks are a little bit bitter compared to the leaves, but they're full of nutrition. They're full of nutrients, obviously, and it's going to bring another texture to the dish.
Absolutely.
And our taste buds, we don't just taste food on taste, we taste it on texture as well.
True.
So that's all ready to go in. No need for knives anymore, which is great. Give your risotto a stir so it doesn't stick. Hopefully you can see all of that rice is pillowing up nicely. Okay, I'm going to let it absorb this. Then I'm actually going to try it.
Okay.
Okay, because how do you know if rice is cooked? The only way you can tell is just to give it a try.
In a risotto.
Okay. Yeah. We don't want it to be really mushy, but at the same time, I don't want it to be crunchy. I want it to have form but softness.
Okay.
So if when I try it, it's not got softness, we're just going to add a bit more liquid. Now, whether that's stock or whether that's just water, it really doesn't matter, just to bring some more liquid.
Cooking going on a little longer.
Yeah.
And you can really see the thick and creamy sauce that the stock is creating with all that lovely ricey.
Yeah, with the starch coming out of the rice.
That's it, starch.
So the starch out of the rice or the starch out of your pasta, that will work together with that beautiful stock, which is full of flavour, and that will naturally thicken it. So when you've cooked rice before, put your rice in your boiling water, you drain it afterwards, and all of this sort of cloudy, gloopy water comes out of the bottom. That's the starch coming away.
Okay.
All that we're doing, we're using that starch to thicken it, to give you that cuddle from the inside when you come to eat it.
Yeah, nice.
All right. And that's what risotto does for me. It gives me that massive cuddle from inside.
Really,
because if you cook it properly and you get that pillowy, soft but formed rice with the salty notes from a parmesan, with some beautiful coloured veg from a pumpkin, curried notes, a little bit of green from the fresh coriander, you get all of these different sensations in your mouth.
Yeah.
And it just, as it goes down, it just really does give me a cuddle from the inside.
That's really lovely. And
now, how wet you want this is up to you. I'm actually going to try it in just a second, because when the cheese goes in, that's going to goo it together as well.
Okay.
So I'll just grab a spoon. I'm just going to try my rice, see how pillowy it is. I think it's going to need some more fluid. Yep, I definitely need some more fluid.
Hot water?
Yeah, please, yeah. So that's really close. It's still quite grainy, but I want it to have that grain form. It's just a little bit crunchy still, that's all. So just a little bit of either boiling water or cold water, whatever you've got. The reason I'm going to go with hot water and boiling water, I don't want to kill the temperature in the pan. I want the rice to still be absorbing. Just go in with a little bit more. If you have got more stock, brilliant. But if not, the residual bit of hot water that you made your stock with that's still in the bottom of the kettle.
Lovely.
Perfect. We're just going to cook that down again. And what that does is it gives us a great amount of time to check our pumpkin, to think about what we're doing, and for you guys at home to start thinking about what I might be doing with that other half of the pumpkin not New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve. God, I'm getting rid of the year. On Halloween.
Did you want to have another look at this, Simon?
Yeah, we'll move the cloth. We'll move this out of the way, and we'll have another little look at the pumpkin.
Smells gorgeous.
Oh, now that is colouring beautifully. This is what we mean, folks. So, on here, gnarly bits are great because they're bringing the flavour. I'm going to try and pick this up. It's going to be hot. So, the inside of our pumpkin has dried out. It's gone crispy. The outside of our skin has blistered.
It looks so pretty.
It's looking great. It's smelling great. I reckon, actually, that's not too far away. Because we need this to keep its form because we're going to mix it through.
Okay, lovely.
So what we don't want
turn to complete squish
is to turn this to squish.
Right.
It's a squash, not a squish.
Yeah, fair.
So I think that that's actually pretty good. So we'll just leave that there for a moment. It's going to get hot again when it gets infused with this rice. Oh, that's great. I can see that that's pillowed, which is beautiful. So now it is just about this flavour, this fluid, just finishing off because they've pillowed up beautifully. And then we'll go in then, right at the end, we'll go in with our Parmesan, we'll go in with our coriander, we'll bring that all together.
Lovely.
Then we're actually going to take it off the heat. There'll be loads of residual heat in that pan, but we're going to bring that off the heat and then we're going to fold in, basically. Under and over with a spatula, folding all of our pumpkin so that all the colour goes all the way through. And then we're going to serve it in a white bowl so that we can see it.
Fantastic. What a hearty meal that is.
You're not going to be hungry at the end of this.
No, in terms of a nice winter warmer, proper for this time of year. The weather's getting colder and darker, as it should be right now. And
currently wetter.
Wetter at the moment.
Especially in certain areas of this country.
It's true. A lot of rain.
I hope everybody is safe.
Yeah.
I hope everybody is doing well.
That's true.
If you're catching up with this because other things have come in between today, just keep yourself safe, guys. That's what we all want.
Absolutely.
This time we're lucky we're on the south coast where we are at the moment. We haven't been overly affected.
Not yet, no.
We've had some rain, but nothing compared to a lot of the rest of the country. So if you are in any of those affected areas, then please keep yourself safe. Try and listen to whatever advice you're being given and basically, just stay safe. So I'm just going to cook that through.
It looks amazing.
It's getting there. It's going to be a lot more pillowy than when I first tasted it.
Okay, fantastic.
Which is awesome. It had that. It was just off the first time.
Is it that chefy al dente?
The first time was a little bit more than al dente. Yeah, it was a little bit raw in places, but this now will be at that. It's got its form. It's got crunch.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be totally soft.
Yeah.
If you want it totally soft, if you've got people in your household who have dental issues,
yeah.
Let's say, and you do want it soft, use the orzo pasta.
Okay.
That orzo pasta goes beautifully soft, but it absorbs so much flavour as well.
Okay.
And that is a way round. You use orzo instead of the risotto rice, and it is softer on the palate.
Gives you that softness straight away.
Okay.
That's looking great.
Now we're going to go in with our Parmesan.
I can get that pumpkin.
No, that's right. That's right. I'm all right. Yeah. So
Lovely.
I'm going to go in with my grated Parmesan and my coriander. I'm going to keep those 3 little shards just to dress. I'm actually going to keep. Oh, actually, I've got some other chopped coriander which I'm going to dress it with as well.
Lovely.
So we stir that all together until
that
the cheese is melted.
Brilliant.
All right. And there's so much residual heat in here. Look at the colours.
Really lovely.
Colours are great. The smell is great. Take that off the heat. Turn the hob off. And then all that we're going to do, that's still going to be hot.
Not for your fingers.
Not for my Teflon fingers. And then all we're going to do is just slide our pumpkin in. Wait. This is really going to bulk it out, increase your fibre, bring some veg into it, bring some colour into it.
Looks lovely.
And then, as I said, we're just going to fold it in. Now, what I mean by that, we're just going to go underneath with the rice and over the top until we get a complete mix. I don't want to bash the pumpkin.
Okay.
All right.
Being quite gentle.
So I'm just lifting all the other ingredients over it to bring it together rather than bashing that pumpkin through.
It looks really great.
Now you can see the green from the coriander, the orange and the browns and everything from the pumpkin all coming together absolutely beautifully.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Coat all of your pumpkin with risotto so that the flavors are mixed. And then in with a bowl. I'm just going to spoon that straight into that bowl. Now this is hearty, folks. This will fill you up, all right? You do not need a mountain of risotto.
And as you said at the beginning, if you were doing this as an accompaniment, as a side, you could serve it with
anything really, chicken,
lovely,
fish,
a chicken breast,
vegetables,
or maybe
whatever.
a celeriac steak, or
Yep.
a cauliflower steak would be
Yep,
great for that
beautiful.
if you were going pure veggie.
Yep, no worries at all.
Really nice.
So I've got that, a little bit of chopped up coriander here, just for a little sprinkle chefy sort of finish.
It looks gorgeous.
And then just with 3 pieces of Parmesan that I'm just going to lay on the top.
Amazing.
And there you have it. One lovely, soft, pillowy, full of flavour, full of fibre, using up that pumpkin. One pumpkin risotto.
Amazing.
Ready to go.
Job done. Well done,
There you
Simon.
go.
That looks absolutely gorgeous.
Hopefully you guys at home have enjoyed it. If you are catching up, then that's absolutely fine. Hopefully there are pumpkins around for you to use. If not, don't forget, butternut squash is a perfect difference. Perfect swap.
Yep.
Any other gaudy squash, anything you want to use. It's not hard. You've just got to be patient.
But it didn't take too long at all.
Try it. No, it's taken
Absolutely.
about 45 minutes from start to finish.
Perfect.
So our risotto's probably been on for about half an hour. If you want it softer, just cook it for longer. Add a bit more fluid if you want to. As I say, I like mine crunchy, which is why I've done it like I have.
That's fantastic.
But it's how you want it. Guys, with the help of Tesco's Community Grants, we've come to you guys today. Hopefully you've seen in and around the stores or around local community centres some of the Eat Well for Less or Eat Well and Save, whatever we got on the front of it.
Eat well, spend less.
Eat Well, Spend Less. That's the one. Booklets that are around. There's other recipes, other ideas, other things in that for you to have a look at.
Yeah.
If not, please check out the UK Harvest website.
All available there.
There's loads of information on that. And check out our socials, especially on Halloween, because that's when you're going to see what I'm going to do with this bit of the pumpkin.
Fantastic.
But for today, it's bye from me.
And me. Thank you. And goodbye.
Thanks for being here. See you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okie dokie.
Wow. Looks so yummy.